What is good? Nomad Pack, you know what it is. Major Nomad here, back at it again with some fire content as well. I think we're going to do a mix today because I did want to add some reactions today in a little bit too. What's going on as of recently, we're going to be... I need to switch the title as well, but yeah. Good afternoons to you. How we doing today? We're going to be having some fun doing a bit of gaming and reactions. I feel like both. This might be a little bit of a midstream too because maybe it's the weather change or so. It's 70 degrees, which is surprising, but it's normally all right today is just clouds and heavy rain today. It's about time we start getting some spring weather at least though. I've been waiting for that. So I'm happy about that. Okay. It's a Friday too, so happy Friday. It's the weekends. Perfect. Done. We all switch to that. Cool. Oh, I forgot. Let me do something. Be back a second. There we will go. Quick changed. Okay, so which one are we gonna start? We're kind of going in slightly blindly today, but there's a lot of stuff going on. We're gonna react to a little something right here, which is kind of a big mistake and criticism I gotta give to what the president did today. The fan going a little bit. Hopefully it's not a problem. Got it low. Get some of that air in so it's not so hot. Okay, let's see here. I originally was considering not streaming today, but it's a Friday. I have to. I might take tomorrow off though. Who knows? I know I gotta... Well, Sunday I could make it work. I could make it work. Okay. We're going to be announcing this one. For those that don't know, Kristi Noem got freaking fired today. And got replaced by someone who's not that great. Not saying she was the best, or some people have their right to feel and not like her and whatnot. But I will say it is kind of a dumb move on Trump for doing that. And if you've seen the thing where she got grilled by the Senate court and whatnot, she did a way better job defending herself than Pam Bondi did. The only reason why she probably wasn't going as they weren't going as hard as her because of the whole ICE immigration thing and the stupid protesters. That's one thing too, and another thing, she wasn't blonde. If Kristi Noem was blonde, we'd keep her around. I gotta call out Trump when he makes dumb moves. I'm sorry, you can't be a blind cult follower. That's the dumbest shit ever. Let me see. I got some stuff on Twitter, and I got some references too from YouTube. We're gonna watch her speak. This is by ABC News as well. Multiple news areas. L. Trump for not defending her right, but will defend Pam Bondi, which I argue Pam is way more less competent than Kristi Noem. It's like, come on, man. Enough of your thing, Trump. Don't be like JFK trying to get with every blonde member of your cabinet. Either way, though. Now, this bad thing about this, too, it bends the will, before we get into this video, bad thing about this, it kind of bends the will to these goofy woke protesters, and that's worse because that's encouraging their bad behavior, and they're going to turn it up a notch. And then after he replaced Greg Bavino to Tom Holman a day or so after he was already in there, they just pulled out of Minnesota, which was so stupid. The only way he can make up for that, in my opinion, is go harder in the next couple weeks or so and go back and clean up the mess there, because it is far from clean. And I don't even know, I haven't seen him around. Recently, I was in Chicago, and I haven't even seen him around there either. I was hoping, because he was, Greg Bavino went to Chicago, and I was hoping to meet him and get a picture, but unfortunately, that didn't come into fruition. Okay, let's hear this nonsense.
Speaking in an event right now. I'll try and figure out what that event is, but let's listen in.
Just thank you for that, and know that we pray for you, that God will have his hand on you and your families and continue to bless you as you do your work. Listen, I'd like to thank everybody who's hosted me today. I know we've got a host of leaders that are here. We just met with Vince backstage a little bit and talked with him a little bit. Tony obviously has been very helpful. Michael, who is from the New York State, Chief of Department Mark Ross, Craig Miller. We've got Craig Lally as well, and then the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police Recording Secretary Rob is here, and then Rochester Police Locust Club President Jeff is with us as well. But would you give all of those individuals who stepped up into a leadership position a round of applause for what they do to bring everybody together?
Notice how they didn't mention Greg Bavino, because he was boots on the ground and actually helping out his fellow officers, aka his troops. They need to mention Greg Bavino there.
Reminded us of what it is every American's duty to do, and that is to serve the American people. That's what the government is to do, those elected officials and those.
And they're not doing that good a job at it, thanks to what's going on nowadays with Trump, Iran, and all this shit. Instead of putting a little bit money back into the economy and whatnot, and making more lower on the health stuff, which a lot of people voted them for, the no tax on tips and SSI and tax on overtime. Hopefully that's worked for some people, because a lot of them in other, the crazy blue states are not honoring that, and he hasn't made sure they reinforced it. So, not for nothing.
That step up into public service is to fulfill our duty to protect American citizens.
Oh, and making the gas prices go up, that's very
our Constitution and our laws, and they should be prioritized,
problematic,
and especially over other people who are from other countries. The Constitution demands that we treat our citizens that way, and the men and women who serve at the Department of Homeland Security, they understand the importance of that, and we also understand the importance of all of our law enforcement officers and what they do across the country to keep people safe. The department was formed after the horrific events on 9/11, and just 2 years later, as Congress put the department together with the support of the president, 23 different agencies who had a nexus and a focus on defending the homeland were put in order to make sure that they were all following the same mission every single day. So it's a very diverse department. It not only has FLETC in it that trains over 130 different federal law enforcement agencies and officers from those agencies. It also includes CBP, ICE, CWMD, which is Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction. So some of you may have gone through some of those trainings to help us detect some of the threats here in our homeland, and also some of the trainings that it takes as far as responding to fires and 911 calls in different specific situations. We have intelligence agencies. We also cover FEMA. FEMA is a disaster response agency, but it also is the agency that's entrusted to run the government on our very worst day. If we had a tragedy in this country where we needed someone to step up because our leadership was not able to, that agency would be entrusted to do that and to maintain our critical infrastructure. So they ensure that they go forward and maintain our electrical grid and our critical infrastructure such as water and systems that we
About time they start actually doing their job with that.
rely on every day to help the American people be safe and to still have their way of life. We also have CISA, which some of you may have worked with them, which is our cybersecurity agency, which goes out and not only hunts down bad actors that would attack us on our cyber systems, but also gives us mitigation measures for how we can harden our systems. All of these entities work together to serve the American people and to make sure that we're prepared for any threats that we may face, but also respond to them in a way that honors what our ideals are. The sacred duty of our government truly is that people are entrusted to secure the rights also of all the...
Okay, so just want to set the scene for you. As you probably know by now, we just got word that the President of the United States has fired Kristi Noem as Secretary of Department of Homeland Security.
Big L for that.
She was...
And apparently replaced her with someone that's probably going to be much worse with doing anything. He's supposedly pretty much just a shill there to collect money and do the bare minimum, like a do-nothing job pretty much. Yeah, that's gonna help. Well, we're not getting what we vote for, I'll tell you that much. And I voted for this motherfucker 3 times, and Trump, you did good at first, but now you're disappointing us, man. You're disappointing the people that vote for you. And you're disappointing the people on the team you're supposed to be on. Big disappointment, my guy. Do better, my dude.
Already set to give these remarks at 2 o'clock. She is in Nashville. She's addressing the Sergeant Benevolent Association Major Cities Conference, where she's talking about the impact of DHS and local law enforcement cooperation. But we found out that there was a live camera on her, so we're kind of standing by. We're monitoring this to see if she will say anything about the fact that the president has now fired her as Secretary of DHS, but moving her over to a different position. She's going to be moving over to Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Apparently, this is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere, as the president describes it. He thanked Kristi for her service at the homeland and says that this announcement of this position and this new organization, he'll talk more about over the weekend. So we are going to go ahead and dip back in as the former secretary is making comments here about DHS and local law enforcement and the cooperation between the two.
Which hasn't been much to begin with, unless it's a red state, but most red states do their job and have the ice and that pour them, versus the blue ones hide them. The governors, mayors, and they tell the cops, oh, catch and release, and make sure they don't catch them. Bullshit. Those ones definitely need to be fired, those commie-crats.
Your city's conference in Nashville. We'll see if she acknowledges the fact that she
whatever
has now
you
been
can
relieved of her position as Secretary of DHS.
Chance to visit with you. I appreciate your wisdom and your advice as we continue to develop trainings and insight into how leadership can work together to make good decisions and to break down the silos between agencies so that we can work together more different, in better ways than we have in the past. And you know, we're seeing challenges across the country, from judges and courts that are working to stop some of our efforts, that are looking to take away some of the protections that you need in law to do your work. And then also we're seeing some challenges from sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. In fact, after I get done sharing a few more words, I want to hear your questions on ways that we can help you do your jobs. If you're in a situation where the laws may be a little different than it is in other states, or you may have unique challenges that perhaps we could work together on to find ways to help you bring criminals to justice and to protect your community from public safety threats. America is the greatest country in the world, and it's the greatest country in the world that has great cities and great communities. Regardless of where people live, we need to make sure that they have an opportunity to go to work every day safely and to send their kids to school safely every day.
She's handling it
Writing a book is hard.
professionally. I would be so petty. This is why I would never mess with politics. Like that, I wouldn't be so professional.
Cities do give us a challenge because it makes it difficult at times for law enforcement to do their work. And we see that many times when a city cooperates with the federal government, cooperates with our federal officers, that it is safer. In fact, 7 of our top 10 safest countries in the nation are not sanctuary cities. They're cities where the local law enforcement partners with us. They partner with our federal agencies, with the FBI, DEA, ATF, CBP, ICE, and our operations. And we've also seen across the country where 5 of our 10 most crime-ridden cities do not cooperate with us. We're those that are not cooperative with federal officers.
Yep, aka dig to Minnesota there, that one. Oh, and Oregon. And I'm pretty sure California too.
We'll see challenges on their streets. We've seen a lot of different situations from city to city. The one thing I would encourage you that no matter how frustrated you may be with some of that, that we can find a way to work together to do some good work for our people. In fact, even in Memphis, where we saw different leadership, we had different parties in the governorship and in the mayor, we still were able to arrest and bring to justice over 2,600 criminals, and in a way that significantly dropped their crime rate and significantly helped those communities continue.
Not a
to
bad
take
number,
those
but what
public
would have been a
safety
good
threats off
number
the
is like 4,000 to 5,000. That would be a perfect number. Even though that's still like a quarter of the problem.
streets. We got over 150 different illegal sex offenders off of the street. We saw one of those arrests included a criminal illegal alien from Venezuela that was convicted of aggravated criminal assault and abuse of a child. I'm thankful that individual is no longer on the streets because of the cooperation of those local law enforcement. We have agreements across the country called 287G agreements. I'm sure you're familiar with them, but there is 3 different models that are available. One is a jail model that helps us with some detention. The other is a warrant service officer model that is extremely helpful for us to make sure that we can take jurisdiction or of an individual who's a criminal in the safety of an environment of a courthouse or a jail, and they can be turned over to ICE so that we have the ability to return them back home. And the
Most
other
of the time
model
they never
would be
do
in the
unless
task
it's
force
in the
model,
red
which I
state,
hope
like
many
I've
of
been
you
saying.
have the opportunity to cooperate with
And
us
others have
where
said.
we can use our different authorities to go out and go after the worst of the worst, those targeted operations that go after violent offenders and criminal offenders, and that we can bring them to justice and get them out of your city and your state. We've seen that program go from before President Trump was in office to only 135 of those agreements across the country signed, to now we have over 1,400 of them in place. And it's been very beneficial to make sure that we've removed over 400,000 criminal offenders out of this country.
I bet you the number hasn't been that close yet. It's been a fair amount all in general when you add it all together, but I'd be surprised if it was even 30,000 because of the hindrances in their way, the protesters going all mad and crazy about it.
We've seen 3 million people leave our country that were here illegally, but over 750,000 of them were arrested and detained and removed. We'd much rather prefer that they volunteer to go home and that it can be a volunteer situation, but if not, if people are here illegally and committing crimes, we want to make sure we're able to detain them and get them out of your communities before we create more victims in the United States. I'm grateful for the work that you do because it's made a difference across this country. This last year, we've seen our murder rate in the United States of America drop to the lowest level since it's ever been recorded. And we've recorded our murder rate across the country for 125 years, and this year we broke the record for the lowest murder rate in the country, and that's because of the work of individuals in this room and the individuals that we've been able to partner with. We've also taken 1.7 billion lethal doses of drugs off our streets and stopped them from
That's
coming
good.
into the
That's
United
definitely
States. That
one of the
means
biggest
1.7
problems
billion
with the
people
open border
will
policy
still
of
be with
Biden.
us because of the work that our agencies and our work has done. Our Coast Guard is an important asset to
Hopefully
the
they
Department of
did
Homeland
more than a
Security, and
dent,
they've worked
though.
with us, and maybe have worked with some of you in the room as well to help interdict those drugs and stop them from coming into our country. You know, President Trump has been working hard to make sure that he's delivering on what he promised the American people, and that's to
Which has pretty much been barely half-assed. It's been kind of shit, to tell you the truth, because he's focusing on a bunch of other bullshit. A pointless war in Iran, and then not giving enough funding back to the country, spending it willy-nilly, especially since he's been getting paid for the weapons and whatnot he's been selling to Ukraine and Zelensky, among apparently the tariff money we've been getting a lot from these countries. He hasn't put much back, and he's been throwing it all either towards, like, the military is fine, but it's better when you try to build new stuff like new jets, planes, and tanks, as well as missiles. Like, we should be getting a ballistic missile ourselves versus us. We haven't even got a ballistic missile yet. We just keep focusing on nuclear stuff, which is a waste of freaking time because we're not going to use it anyway. And it's like, we already have, like, what, 10, 15,000? How much do we need of a scare tactic, knowing, oh, they're just there for a scare tactic and like an invisible shield, pretty much. It's a scare tactic and an invisible shield. How much more can you need when we should be trying to make our own ballistic missiles, since we're making the Iron Dome or the Golden Dome over here? Because those are the ones that are going to stop a bunch of stuff. So why does China, Iran, and Russia have them? Why can't we have one? Question that a bit. And even if a huge chunk of that money, aka 60 to 70%, goes to the military, whereas the 30% going to, hell, 5% back in the, like I said, even Biden, before I said this before, Biden gave us some money. Take some of that 5% and give some people some money for going through the trouble of voting for you and restabilizing a bit because of the oil prices and that rising up. Some people need a little bit of hemorrhage, fallback money. Yeah, fallback, because this is going to be a blow to the economy and to the people who don't have the extra money to deal with the gas and the grocery prices going up. Because, you know, they're going to definitely, they're using up, I bet you some of the reserves are going to be compromised too, because we're supposed to put some of those reserves back, but they're probably going to get compromised when this is all said and done.
make America
It's
safe
crazy.
again.
Oh,
In doing so, we have gone out and found over 1,500 known
I
as
gotta check out
suspected
what the gas
terrorists.
prices
All right,
are now.
so
It probably went
we're
up by a
following
couple
this live
dollars
event,
for a barrel.
Former DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, because we're really not quite sure what's going on here. We know that the President of the United States came out and said that she is out of a job, and that he is announcing that the senator of Oklahoma, Markwayne Mullin, will become the next Secretary of Homeland Security. Clearly, he's got to go through a confirmation process. The president said in his tweet that that should be happening March 31st, 2026. But we're watching this live event. It was scheduled to start at 2, but then the news came out that he was firing the DHS secretary. So we're waiting, we're standing by to see if she takes questions.
Yeah, this is the
if she
person they
acknowledges
replaced
the
him with,
fact that,
which
she
is
has
pretty
lost
much
her
one of the worst choices he can make. If you thought Kristi Noem was bad, apparently this guy is way worse.
job. She's at this event in Nashville, the Sergeant Benevolent Association Major Cities Conference. She's talking about the impact of DHS and local law enforcement. And she even said, here's what we want to do for you. Here's how DHS wants to support local law enforcement so we can all work together. So she's still talking as if she is DHS secretary. And Pierre Thomas, Chief Justice Correspondent, let me bring you into this because
I wanted a custom.
Bah. It's always one of these.
the Secretary of DHS until the confirmation hearing happens and Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen replaces her. Can you sort of explain how this will work?
Precisely. The Truth Social post appears to suggest that she is still the current Homeland Security Secretary pending the senator being put in the job should he be confirmed. So there's a reference to the notion that she will be Homeland Security Secretary through the end of this month. So that means that you have this period of time where she's the Homeland Security Secretary, a bit of a lame duck, if you will. Lots of critical things going on, lots of critical decisions to be made. But it sounds like the White House and a number of other people will be very much heavily involved in the day-to-day while this transition takes place, because clearly the president was not comfortable or happy with the way she had been performing, hence the move.
She wasn't as bad as Pam Bondi, though. I gotta definitely show
taking...
you the reasons why and how she got grilled way worse. I'm gonna watch the thing where she even got grilled.
I've always wanted to ask her this. You sure can. Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, thank you.
Given our current state of Chicago, we have no comment about the sensitivity of law enforcement. More of a target of this tax. The person not the great grandson, extreme person. A lot of people, they just go after the term commodity. Kind of like they've been there 30 years, they're not causing trouble as opposed to criminals.
Right.
I think that needs to be the focus.
It's hard to hear the question. Give the motherfucker a mic.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. I don't know if you guys heard that question, but he talked about targeted enforcement, and Rob was saying how it's much more effective in a lot of, especially these sanctuary cities, where we can work on targeting those individuals who have a criminal history besides their legal status that may be in violation of their visa.
But Trump is making them pull back. Big mistake.
Or work permit, but that we work on those and make sure we're going
Sends
out and
a pretty
doing
weak
that
message
with
to the
local law
people, I'll tell
enforcement
you
as
that
we
much.
possibly can. And that is something that
I understand doing it somewhat temporary when things get too hot, especially with the recent events in Minnesota. When things get too hot, maybe a little bit, but after like a couple weeks, then go back real hard.
we're going to continue to do and make sure that
send
we're
all the
focusing and
troops almost,
prioritizing
or
those
send as much
individuals
as you
and
can.
make sure that we're addressing the public safety threats there. Thank you. Yes, sir. Okay, let me visit with him about it. That'd be great. Well, we're talking about doing some other tax benefits for other, so that may be something we could wrap into that conversation. Great idea. Perfect. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Secretary. My name is Chris Galligan. I'm the Vice President of San Francisco Police Officers Association. First of all, I just want to say thank you for recognizing major cities and all of our police unions here across the nation. It means a great deal for you to be here today, so thank you for that. My question, local officers have increasingly been on the front lines of Homeland Security, yet we are still funded and staffed like a city responsibility, not a national one. How will DHS ensure local agencies aren't carrying federal priorities on local budgets and with local staffing?
So you maybe have some challenges in San Francisco just because of your state laws and local laws that may, although you've got a mayor that works with us very well.
That's great.
He probably doesn't want me to talk about it a lot, actually, but he has been cooperative, and we have great conversations and talk quite often. And many times in doing law enforcement in your city, if the federal task force is coming in, you know, it's more preferable for the FBI to lead and the Department of Homeland Security to come in supportive roles, which is what we've done, and that works very well in your city. Thank you for your focus there too. I think the city is seeing some dramatic improvements under this leadership. When you talk about funding, we have tied a lot of our funding that we have for enforcement this year and prioritized over $1.5 billion towards 287G agreements. So we've reimbursed departments that have an agreement, or a county or a sheriff, with funding them on overtime or on benefits, some of the other things that we can do. We've also, on the jail model, obviously reimbursed per beds. If you don't have the opportunity to participate in 287G, I think your best options for funding alternatives would be through some grants that we have at the department. We have specific grants towards terrorism grants that you can do, some security grants, and there's hazard mitigation grants that are in Homeland Security, safety grants through FEMA that would be available. So maybe what I'll do is I will forward those grant opportunities to all of you so that you can share them with your departments and have that opportunity. We also have some grants specifically targeted towards special operations. So if you've got some special operations that fit into that category, we could get you some funding that way.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes. Hi, Craig. Yes.
One police officer and one sergeant called Border Patrol for assistance, and then after that happened, he tried to fire them for asking Border Patrol to come assist them.
Oh, shoot.
Most recently, they just suspended both officers for 30 days without pay.
The Border Patrol?
No, Detroit
those
police.
officers in Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit
Okay.
police. So the one incident was the female of the house called because
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Detroit's one of the shitty shithole blue states. Really bad. The only thing that's slightly better than Detroit, and not by much, Philadelphia.
husband was trying to break into the house. When the officers got there, he had a bad passport and a bad social security card. So they called Border Patrol for assistance.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up taking him to jail because he had a warrant outside the city of Detroit.
Yes.
The second one was, it was a traffic stop. The fingerprint reader wasn't working, so they called for them to bring theirs over there, and the person had a warrant also. So both
We're going
officers
to continue to follow this live event with...
I guess that pretty much cuts it there. Interesting. Oh, and YouTube's been having issues today for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it is... Ah, yes. Hold on. Freaking bots today, man. Horrible. Shout out to Automod. Anyway, let's go to where she gets grilled. Alright. CBS this time's got the scoop. I want to look for the highlights of this. And apparently even a Republican got mad at her. Hopefully one of the Republicans, who probably Zarino, has the same energy for Pam Bondi. I gotta show you where she really got grilled.
The easiest.
In just a minute. We got a few things to cover. This is just like recent news. I'm gonna go a little bit into not so, well, still recent, but not as recent. And we're gonna be covering a bit more of the news that isn't that easy to find, that the mainstream media and the Trump administration doesn't want you to know. Stay tuned, Nomad Pack. It's gonna get heavy. Okay.
Congratulations on the record. I believe you have a policy, Madam Secretary, that you have to approve all contracts at your department over $100 million.
No, sir. I have a policy in place that I review contracts. My deputy chiefs have the ability to review anything under $5 million. Above that, I evaluate and look at.
Okay. And you do that, I understand, to try to curb waste and abuse of taxpayer money. Is that right?
Yes, sir. In fact, it's been extremely effective. We've saved the taxpayers over $13.2 billion just by evaluating contracts, negotiating lower ones, and canceling ones that aren't necessary to do our duties.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota, is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
Okay. And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which...
That's how much it takes for a freaking TV ad, 220 million? Come on. 220 mil for fucking ads. There's a bit more behind the scenes in there, in my opinion. It shouldn't take a couple million for some ads is one thing, and especially having it last for about a week or so. 220 for a week. That's some BS. That could have been used for way better investments than some stupid ads. Like, yeah, I gotta call both Trump and Kristi, no, but mostly Trump out on that one. That's stupid, wasteful spending. Taking pages out of Biden's book right there with the wasteful spending.
You are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
well, they were
overwhelmingly
effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just...
I don't completely know too much, but some of the stuff he said I disagreed with a fair amount, but right there, that was a good comeback. I'll give it to him there, even though he's too much of one of those old guard, freaking, what do you call those? Too much of the old guard boomer Republicans. Everything needs to be this way, and a lot of outdated thinking, but he did get her there. I will give him that much.
I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot, and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe. You know, the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them. That he would have agreed to that. I don't think Russ Vogt at OMB would have agreed to that. It's something we have to defend. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. My research shows that you did not bid them out, that you picked, in fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked them, and that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson. Look, we all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. I'm just, it troubles me. Fifth.
I'll be honest, that kind of troubles me too. 220 million for ads, nah.
When we're scratching for every penny and we're fighting over rescission packages, I just can't agree with Madam Secretary. Are you still running those ads?
No, Senator, I did not have anything to do with picking those contractors. No politicals at the Department of Homeland Security did.
I understand. Are you
Mayor
still running
officials
those
followed
ads?
the competitive bid process for
Are you
that.
still running
Everything
those ads?
I think the ads are due to end here in March, I think within a week or two. I'm not sure of the update. The one that is running is focusing on angel families. Have you seen that? It is the one that's talking about this is our why. This is why we work every day.
Okay.
Is for the angel
I've gotta
families
move
and their
on.
victims that need to.
After.
Whoa.
Bah. I wonder if there's more, because now they're going to beat around the bush. I want to get to the highlights. Yeah, see right there, perfect timing. Now let me see the highlights where she really got grilled. And then we're going to go to Pam Bondi's next. And then you guys, I want to hear it from you. And especially when the VOD comes out on YouTube, definitely type below in the comments, what do you guys think? Was this as bad as Pam Bondi's or not? We'll have to get to that in a second. Yeah, there we go. Highlights. Don't want it to be a big hour thing. I'll go through a couple of these. This should be a decent highlight. 30 minutes is good enough. Oh.
Oh, okay. Well.
Already a freaking crazy wokey broke in there acting a fool. Like, I'm just gonna get this set up. I'm just gonna set this record straight. I don't care. Like, you're entitled to feel how you feel about the recent events with ICE in Minnesota, but acting that way isn't going to get you nowhere. It's just going to complicate your life and make problems. The smart thing for you to do, if you genuinely care about it, how about post all the footage or whatever you got on your phone recording on social media, then have either of your goofy members of your protest group comment under there and try to raise that up, and then that's how the smart way to do is to protest it. Or the other smart thing to do, even though I wouldn't recommend this one unless you got money or you're not going to be a failed candidate, is you go into politics yourself and try to be a congressperson, a senator, a mayor, governor. That's how you do it the smart way. Acting that way isn't going to get you nowhere but bullshit in your life. And hey, it's your life. If you want to complicate it and mess with it, that by all means, but it's not going to give you the results you are looking forward to getting. I'll give you that much. My advice, take it, leave it. Blow your nose, flip your nose at it. I don't care. I just know if I really want to make a change, I'll post on social media, even though I don't want to get into politics professionally like that. If I did, though, I would freaking make some money and run for office. Like mayor, governor, senator, whatever. That's the smart way to go about it.
Steve Bannon, long an advisor to the president, one of his earliest public supporters, recently said that ICE should be deployed at the polls in the next election. Will you rule out the deployment of ICE or CBP to polling places this November?
There are no plans to have ICE officers at our polling locations. And
I'm glad to hear that, but would you rule it out? would you say it will not happen?
Do you plan on illegal aliens voting in our elections, Senator?
I do not. In
okay,
fact,
then
the
there should be
Heritage
no need to,
Foundation,
unless you plan on illegal
Madam
aliens
Secretary,
voting.
the Heritage Foundation recently concluded that over a 20-year period.
What's that flag got to do with the American flag, trying to have dual allegiance? Yeah, see, that's another thing I gotta say. That is kind of a issue there, in my opinion, when you're supposed to represent this country. You're trying to have is that the Ukrainian flag or so? I don't know what it is, but you see, that's what I don't agree with right there. It should only have the American flag, not no other country's flag, since you're taking care of the people that were born and raised here, not in some other country that has nothing to do with us, and you're just a senator. So that's not going to help you when you want to elevate to higher positions of power in politics.
Where they reviewed hundreds of millions, billions of voting cases, they found only a small handful of actual cases of illegals voting. So I'm concerned by your rebuttal, which suggests you may be unfamiliar with 18 U.S.C. Section 592. Are you familiar with this federal statute that relates to sending armed men to polling places?
There are no plans to send any of our law enforcement officers to
but
polling
locations. But, Madam Secretary, you're clear it would
there
be
have
a
been
federal
illegal
crime
aliens.
for you to do so.
There are illegal aliens that have voted, and it's been proven in the past in certain cases in certain states. We provide a program to states. I think we have 27 different states that utilize our SAVE program now to verify individuals that are eligible to vote in their elections. And as states run their election systems, we encourage them to use that to make sure they maintain their election integrity.
Madam Secretary, can you understand how when Steve Bannon says publicly we should have ICE at the polls, and you say...
I don't know why he's bringing that up, because Steve Bannon doesn't work for Trump anymore. He's doing his own thing. I doubt he would even want to be a part of his cabinet right now, so Steve Bannon is like, nah, screw this. Nope, I'm not going to walk into that dumpster fire. I mean, look at what's his name? Don Bongino. Even Don Bongino said, nope, I'm gone. He already had enough. I bet you he got into something that really shook him and said, there ain't nothing I could do or say to change much of anything here. I'm gone. I'm going to pretty much destroy my career if I stay into this cabinet. Smart choice on him, in my opinion.
There are no plans. Even
though it was Al for Trump to put him in that position of power anyway, Don Bongino has no clue about how those type of politics work that well professionally when he doesn't have that much experience and he's just a Trump loyalist. That one I will call out and say, yeah, that was stupid. Get a professional that knows what they're doing. He doesn't have to be a hardcore loyalist. You just want someone that does the job. Hell, when people get hired for certain jobs and positions of working either corporate or regular work, do you have to be a diehard loyalist for your boss, or are you just going to do what you're supposed to do and what you get paid for and, support the boss when he makes good stuff, but behind the scenes, like when he makes good decisions, but when he makes bad decisions, either behind the scenes or talk to HR when he does something you disagree with or he's not doing a good job at something and it's affecting you. That's what HR is for. That's when we cross a lot of complications when Trump wants diehard loyalists that don't call him out when he's making a bad move. That can get problematic, like with the Democrat Party.
That's not enough to rule out the possibility of a violation of this long-standing federal law. Will you issue a directive that ICE and CBP should be nowhere near polling places this November?
We have no plans to have ICE officers or law enforcement at polling locations. States are responsible for running their elections, and we're giving them tools and mitigation efforts that they can utilize in order to make sure they maintain the integrity of those elections and that individuals can trust their systems to ensure that their vote counts.
Brand them as domestic terrorists. Can you explain why you decided to brand these victims that we all saw on video who were out protesting the activities of your agency and were killed as a result of it? How did you think that calling them domestic terrorists at that scene was somehow going to calm the situation?
You know, Senator, we are working in those situations where there's a tragic loss of life and that there is something that our agents
There we
are
go,
involved
using
in,
that
that we
card.
continue
There he
to deliver
goes.
information.
Is it so hard to say you were wrong?
We
and
continue,
issue a
as these
retraction?
investigations continue to go, we will provide, I absolutely strive to provide factual information and will continue
And when
to
you
do
fail,
that.
do you admit it publicly?
Absolutely. We always know
Will you
that there's
admit it
room
now?
for improvement, that we will.
There goes another goofy commie crat. Wokey. Wokey about to crash out. As much as I don't know much about him and already don't like him, but that's how he professionally does it right there. Don't do that. Do what the guy did on the stand. That's how you really get the point across, even though he's using that weak-ass card. The second one with the Alex Preddy thing, I already consider myself, my 2 cents, it was pretty much almost clean shoot, but it was, how should I say, with the Alex Preddy situation, at best it's questionable and there should be minor punishments to some of those ICE officers involved. Minor, like administrative leave or suspension for, not administrative, suspension for a couple weeks and dock the pay. Because looking back and forth, he shouldn't have, yes, he shouldn't have tried to fight the ICE when they were detaining somebody and shouldn't have got involved in stuff like that. And had a piece of shit gun, aka the SIG P320, which is a piece of trash, because when you got a round in the chamber, it's going to go off and they don't know where it's from, and they probably thought he still had the weapon on him, so they're trying to, if anything, while he was still on the ground, taser him, or so you could say. But in a high intense situation like that where there's still people surrounding him and you don't know if it either came from that or so, you're gonna be panicking a bit. That one is like a minimal punishment at best because of all those factors considered, but not like a whole big thing. The first one, though, with Renee Good, that one was a very clean shoot, because if you try to run somebody over with a car, especially a law enforcement person, officer, ICE, what have you, and they tell you to stop, then he has every right to make you stop one way or the other. I know if I almost got run over by somebody and I'm hanging on the thing of the car, slip off the side or so, but I still have a chance to draw my gun and stop the car or the person behind the wheel, you best believe I'm going to take a couple shots to make sure that person stops when they're trying to run me over. I'll tell you that much. It's like, what do you expect? F around, stupid games, stupid prizes, what have you, and just don't do it in general, and don't try to block them. Film them from a distance if you have a problem with it, and have the online media, if it's all wrong or so what you think they're doing and what you believe they're doing is wrong, then post it on film and post it on social media. Done. And there's no complications in your life. Or bad consequences and tragic ones like losing a life, which, yes, a tragic loss of life is bad, no matter, but
could you explain this?
Self-defense and not a duty to retreat and survive, fight or flight, that's, no matter what state, I don't care what it is, that's understandable. If some guy tries to, or some girl, some guy, what have you, tries to run you over and they're not stopping, you have every right to stop them by lethal force if necessary. And the cops and law enforcement have no duty to retreat in these blue hellhole states where they don't have stand your ground. That's why you move to a red state and make it, unless the person's a neocon or a rhino, I wouldn't bother voting at that point, but you vote for the people that protect your First and Second Amendment. So if ever a bad situation like that were to come, when you're dealing with an unhinged driver and they don't want to stop, when you're in a bad situation there, regardless if you're in law enforcement or not, you want to be able to defend yourself from getting squashed by a car.
Sir, I'm looking at a picture of an interior, looks like a bedroom.
Of an airplane?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You're not familiar with that?
These photos are not accurate. If you're referring to the airplanes that the Department of Homeland Security has purchased and are purchasing, we're using them for long-range command and control aircraft that is dictated in statute by Congress for the Department of Homeland Security to have a plane.
Luxury jet with a bedroom in it?
Yeah, we used a 737. I've been on it once, but it is being used by other administration officials, and it is used for command and control flights for the department. The department has found that in purchasing our aircraft, that we will save the taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars.
Does it have a bedroom?
In fact, we spent $1.42 billion on ICE deportation flights last year.
Does it have a bedroom in it?
I believe it's being refurbished and not having a bedroom in it. So it is being refurbished.
What kind of deportee justifies being flown out of the country in a luxury jet with a bedroom?
If that's the case, that's a L. But that's a nice jet. I would like one of those when I have to go overseas.
For executive air travel and for deportations. If you remember, in the past, we have used
that's a good vacation jet
configuration for deportations in the past. If you remember,
this configuration. By this configuration, you mean with
I
a
didn't
bedroom
see the
and
inside
luxury
of them.
accommodations like this.
That
you've
plane
used for deportations. Is that true?
Sir, we have 737s that are being purchased by the department to replace contracts that we have on ICE deportations. That's what they're going to be used for. And in fact, the Coast Guard is the only entity within the Department of Homeland Security that has jets at this point in time. They had 2 G5s.
That's at least probably like a $40 million jet, maybe even more.
That were
Yo, you better really be getting the use out of it besides fun use and entertainment use. You best be deporting a lot of people on those jets, I'll tell you that much.
20 to 25 years old
that
are being
about
deporting a lot of illegals out of there, I'll tell you that.
Military
senior
for years to come.
About these
or else that's a big
aircraft.
waste of tax money.
They've been reported as saying, although they don't want to say publicly this, but individuals described as senior administration officials have described these airplane purchases as the world's worst deal and an abuse of federal funds. Can you tell me what the Republicans on this committee who voted for what I call the billionaires bill that gave you the money to buy these jets knew about?
Like they don't do the same. Okay, that's see right there. Of course, they should be better and not wasteful money and take examples from assholes like this, but oh, you best believe the Biden and the commigrats when he was in office definitely lined up their pockets. Don't say you don't. Don't act like you're innocent and all that too. Yes, they messed up, of course, if they're wasting a lot of money on jets for not actually using them for the use they intended them to use if they're not deporting a fair amount of illegal immigrants, but don't act like you haven't bought yourself some nice stuff with tax money or federal tax money you've been using for your programs. Nah, we ain't stupid. We ain't stupid.
Your plans to acquire luxury jets when they voted for that money.
The dollars for these airplanes was appropriated by Congress. In fact, it's mandated from Congress and rules that you've given us that we need to have a long-range command and control aircraft that will seat up to 17 people in the Department of Homeland Security for national security purposes. We are complying with the law. Those planes are being refurbished and will be utilized for that, and they'll be utilized by members of the administration and other components.
First,
they will also cut our costs, sir, by almost 40%. We are saving the taxpayer 40% by purchasing our own aircraft and operating them rather than being susceptible to the contracts that they have today.
With the fact that you have spent $220 million
we already did that
running television advertisements.
Those worst of the worst criminals that are here illegally.
I would certainly prefer it if you did targeted operations against the worst of the worst. But just last year, Stephen Miller, who's the president's Homeland Security Advisor and Deputy Chief of Staff, went on Fox News and said we're setting a goal, a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day. And President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number higher and higher. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor, and he oversees immigration policy for the president. What's your response to his public quote?
Sir, there is no quotas at the Department of Homeland Security. When we do law enforcement operations, we do them on targeted enforcement, getting public safety threats off of our streets and out of our communities to protect the American people.
Thank you.
Oh, look, I'm getting a call.
No one cares. This is starting to get more juicy here. I only watched a little bit of this, like in my feed when it first dropped.
Left, will you tell us the real implications of this shutdown on men and women that stepped up to serve our country in the highest way to keep our homeland safe and secure?
Yes, I'm grateful for our TSA law and security officers that are still showing up and doing their jobs, running those security checkpoints, even though they're not collecting a paycheck. A couple of the stories that I had heard when I spent time with them just in recent days was
right
one
there,
individual
shutting down the government, which was a big L. They're trying to do it again. Yep. I don't know if it's still going on, but you know what the commie-crats are doing. Instead of trying to be useful and actually doing a little more to help or manage and whatnot, they rather just stomp on their feet like spoiled kids and say, no, you're not getting this way. We're going to shut down the government, instead of trying to outvote you or convince other people that would benefit not just us or the illegal immigrants, but benefit the people and make our party look better so more people would vote for us. Well, I guess they probably don't have to worry about too much now with some of the recent events with not just this, but mostly the thing with Iran and the whole new war thing. The midterms is looking really bad for the Republican Party and Trump, I'll tell you that. They better do a lot of save face and a big turnaround to buy people their favor and or loyalty and respect back. Not like bribe them, but, you know. How about, like he said, oh, we uncovered so much with the Doge, we're going to give people $5,000, and oh, things are getting tougher, we're going to give people $3,000. Well, Biden did, so why don't you do a little bit of that? Because right now you're not convincing the people to not want to keep more Republicans in power. The Republicans better come up with something to benefit some people, because right now, with Trump making them look bad, it's not looking good. I'll tell you that much, especially with prices of things running. I'm going to do okay, but a lot of people that aren't making that much money are definitely going to feel it.
Needed cancer treatment, $1,200 treatment that he couldn't afford, and had to go and borrow money so she could get her cancer treatment because he wasn't getting his paycheck. Another individual who had 9 children was raising 2 of his grandchildren as well, that was struggling to pay his bills, took a nighttime job as a welder just to try to keep food on the table for the responsibilities that he had. These people joined TSA because of 9/11, because they want to be a part of keeping people safe in the United States and defending our homeland. Beyond that, FEMA, our ability to fund disaster response is virtually gone. It needs to be refunded. Our FEMA employees are out there doing work every single day, but we have 10,800 individuals that are funded out of the Disaster Relief Fund that could potentially not be there for them and not respond to individuals who need it when they have those terrible storms or devastating crises.
So what I want to know is, when are you going to get down to the original footprint as promised to us?
We're continuing to work at that, although those investigators will continue to stay there to get to the bottom of that fraud, to make sure that those vulnerable people that rely on those programs actually get services from those federal dollars that are spent, that it's not stolen by criminals and used by individuals to enrich themselves and send it out of the country.
Secretary Chung-Lee Tao, are you aware that agents bashed in the door of a U.S. citizen, a Hmong elder with no criminal record?
I can't speak to the specifics of that case.
Did you see the photos of that man being dragged out of his house in Crocs and in his underwear?
Yes, I did.
Crocs.
Do you believe that he was involved in fraud?
I do not know where that status of that investigation is.
Are you aware that he is a son of a beloved nurse that treated our soldiers in Vietnam?
I believe that we have laws in this country that need to be enforced and need to be applied equally to everyone.
Speaking of enforcing the laws and following the laws, did they have a judicial warrant when they rammed through an American citizen's door?
Our law enforcement officers follow the same protocols and procedures that all law enforcement do.
Are you aware that he tried to show his identification to show that he was an American citizen and they didn't want to see it?
Again, these officers conduct themselves in processes. If something was done inaccurately, then certainly we will make sure that we correct it and rectify it in the future.
Are you aware that the person they were looking for was in prison and had been in prison for years?
Yes, I am. That's a target. Yes, we do targeted operations going after and looking for.
Do you agree that it is unacceptable for your agents to ram into someone's door and drag someone out in their underwear in below zero temperatures when they have the wrong guy?
Our officers conduct targeted operations.
Look, they're really grilling on a lot of that
the
stuff, the nitty
processes
gritties.
that are given to them and the
answer
tools.
that you think that's wrong.
They needed to identify that individual, and
they couldn't identify him by looking at his identification. Instead, they had to drag him out, throw him in a car, and drive him around for an hour. How about pulling off-duty police officers, Madam Secretary, every single one of whom made clear who they were? They were people of color, off-duty police officers. In Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, the chief described how one off-duty officer, someone of color, a U.S. citizen, was stopped and confronted by ICE agents.
A fair amount of them, especially on the Commie-crat side, and over here in fucking Chicago, LJB for this one was trying to get illegal immigrants to become officers, and you already know how much of a chaos that could emit. But they're not going to all talk about that one. It's like, oh, let's be fair here. Let's be fair. You're talking about that. I mean, yes, that's a big fuck up if that's true, but let's talk about the other ones. See, she should have better defense than that. Be like, oh, don't act like you're not so innocent. You guys do some fuck shit too, so at least with our ones, we rectify it more. You guys try to sweep it more under the rug. Nuh-uh-uh. Man, that party is so insufferable.
With their guns drawn, demanding her proof of citizenship. As Chief Bruley said, I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident, but the other chief said it had happened to their own officers.
With Secretary Noem, because we're not going after enough people who did this damage at the expense of running numbers that Stephen Miller wants out of the White House. We just want numbers. We want 1,000 a day, 6,000 a day, 9,000 a day, because numbers matter, right? No, they don't matter. Quality matters, not quantity, quality. And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. I heard first reports that he was the one that said it was a domestic terrorist situation where 2 people lost their lives in Minneapolis. I've heard that report. Maybe you can refute it. I don't know that we'll have time for you to respond because I'm giving you a performance evaluation here. I'm not looking for a response. And I'm saying, Ms. Noem, that time after time after time I've been disappointed. But before I get back to looking at the vicious people that did this damage to these families, I want to talk a minute about FEMA. You have a policy right now that anything over $100,000 has to go through your desk for approval. I asked my staff, because I'm a management consultant, I don't try to do cheap shots in here, but the facts do not lie. This is your administration for FEMA response. This is President Trump's first administration. Which one would you like to have? If you're a state that has a $60 billion disaster, your biggest disaster in South Dakota that I can tell that when you were an elected official was about $500 million. So 1/100th of this single storm where thousands of people are hurting in North Carolina and you're just barely catching up. This is what competent FEMA leadership looks like. This is what incompetent FEMA leadership looks like. And people are hurting in Western North Carolina from the most significant storm they've ever experienced. This is what we need more of. I'm convinced you can't do it. If you're requesting a review of $100,000 and up, then it begs the question, why? Why would you be involved in that? Why would that be a policy? And in a minute, I'll ask about some people that are involved, some special government employees. Why are they involved in it? Thank you.
Senator,
No.
that
You can finish
that
after my
$100,000
10
only
minutes
had
are
to
done,
do.
and I will hold the clock until I finish.
Okay.
The bottom line is I've done the analysis, and you can say whatever you want to. I've worked with a Democrat governor. I've worked with a Republican governor. I've worked with fiscal research. We have people contacting my office now to get the information to better understand the failure of this department. You failed at FEMA, and in fact, if I get to it, actually, why don't I cover this right now? The Homeland Security Act of 2002 expressly prohibits the Secretary of Homeland Security
I had to text
from
people some
restricting or
in my
diverting FEMA
community.
resources from the
Well, my
agency's
other one.
mission. Based on
I'm
your
back.
disaster response, the chart that I just showed you,
And I'm
I have
listening
reason to
still.
believe that you're violating the law, either knowingly or unknowingly. So I'll be asking and getting a submission to the record, submitting a question for the record, what the total amount of FEMA reimbursements are currently being held by DHS, awaiting for final approval. Held by DHS, awaiting for final approval for an agency that you should not be obstructing the disbursement on. I'm going to give you time to answer to it.
I'll give him credit on this. Oh, he's only got American pin good. Even though this guy is definitely a shady character, already being a Democrat and whatnot. But at least he brought facts and numbers with him. I'll give him that much. Yeah, that's quite the grilling he's given.
But under penalty of perjury so that we can get it right. Now,
Hold on a minute.
Going back to Minneapolis, why can't we just say we made a mistake? I will ask you one question, if you could just give me a quick response. Who does Tom Holman work for? You or the president?
The president.
Okay. Why is that? Because I believe the president recognized that you weren't getting it done in Minneapolis, and you're putting us further away from pointing to this. We're beginning to get the American people to think that deporting people is wrong. It's the exact opposite. The way you're going about deporting them is wrong. The fact that you can't admit to a mistake, which looks like under investigation, is going to prove that Ms. Good and Mr. Petty probably should not have been shot in the face and in the back. Law enforcement needs to learn from that. You don't protect them by not looking after the facts. Not only should the FBI be investigating it, but every single law enforcement agency in that jurisdiction should be invited to it, so our law enforcement officers do not have this pall cast upon them. One of the reasons why ICE officers are having threats, and damn the people that threaten ICE officers, because so many of them are doing a good job, is because you...
Yeah, at least he said that, so credit where it's due there. He better say that shit, or else he's just freaking wokey, corrupt, legal immigrant, dollar-loving shill. Or, yeah, what do you call it? Not only is it for laundering money, but it's also for control of power. That's why they always try to get them in here fast, and then they work on trying to give them legal immigrant status by citizenships, and it shouldn't work that way, because my dad had to bust his ass to freaking not only keep and have a stable green card, but get his citizenship, and he's been in the country for years and made money and shit.
Cast a pall.
Versus them, they're just getting a freaking handout right away, and oh, we're just gonna make you that for power, but we're just gonna give it to you that fast anyway.
On them by acting like we should investigate things differently. Officer-involved shootings have a formula that we should go through every time, and we're not going through that formula. As a matter of fact, in Ms. Good's case, I think that they were even saying that maybe there wasn't even a need to do it in the DOJ. I hope that that's changed, but I'm telling you, it was a civil rights review. I saw your frown. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But originally, Blanche said there wouldn't be an investigation. Folks, law enforcement, we've got to have their back. We've got to make it clear when they make a mistake, then they get corrected for it.
True.
But you don't walk away from it, and you've done it too many times.
Motherfucker, Skip.
Now, Secretary, I read your book last week. And honestly, some of the parts of it impressed me, but some of it distresses me. And I'll give you a good example of one that
She
does.
wrote a book I didn't even know.
Where you talk about killing a dog that was 14 months old.
Oh, that one. That one, the dog
and
one.
And you are a farmer. You should know better. You should know that if you're going out to a hunting lodge and you're putting pheasants out and you're
that
putting
was
dogs
really
out,
freaking stupid to mention that in the book. Okay, yeah, I could see where she is kind of fucking stupid, but it's still L for Trump for getting her in, but not as bad as Pam Bondi. She's kind of a little stupid, but Pam Bondi, in my opinion, is really stupid.
you don't take a puppy out there. A 14-month-old dog is basically a teenager in dog years. You decided to kill that dog because you had not invested the appropriate time in training, and then you have the audacity to go into a book and say it's a leadership lesson about tough choices. It's in your book. We could play it if we had time.
That is it does make her look bad, I'm gonna be honest. You know how people here love their pets, man. That does make it look really bad.
At that same lunch hour, you killed a goat. And you killed the goat because you said it was behaving badly. You are a farmer. You don't castrate a goat, they behave badly. You should have probably done that before, but my point is, those are bad decisions.
Poor farm animals. I feel
unlike
bad
what
for the
happened
farm
in
animals on her ranch.
I expect we're an exceptional nation. And
All
one of the
jokes
reasons we're
aside, though.
exceptional is we expect exceptional leadership. And you've demonstrated anything but that in the time that I've seen you responding to the emergency in North Carolina and across the Southeast, and acknowledging when mistakes are made, and speaking too soon for the expedient of social media or whatever it is. I'll leave you with this, Ms. Noem. I'm expecting answers to Charlotte's Web. I requested it a month ago. That was one of the investigations in Charlotte, 20 minutes from where I live. All I asked for, if it had to be anonymized, was information so that I could determine if your hit rate is right. I want to find more of those people, and I want to detain fewer of the others. And Mr. Chair, in my remaining time, I have a lot to go. But I want to submit this letter from the Office of Inspector General that cites 10 different instances under Ms. Noem's leadership where they've been misled and not allowed to pursue investigations that they think are critically important. Does anybody have any idea how bad it has to be for the OIG in this agency to come out and do this publicly? That is stonewalling, that's a failure of leadership, and that is why I've called for your resignation. And if I don't get an answer to these questions, I don't want an applause. Please don't do that for me. If I don't get an answer to these questions, if I don't get an answer that you've had a month to respond to, and the remaining ones, as of today, I'll be informing leadership that I'm putting a hold on any en-bloc nominations until I get a response. And in 2 weeks, if I don't get a response, I'm going to deny quorum and markup in as many committees as I can until I get a response. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Now it's Senator Booker's turn.
Imagine being able to build an app with your...
This is another annoying ad that pops up constantly. Oh, it's already done. Good. I was gonna say, though, surprising Kristi Noem's ad hasn't popped up yet. Okay, now we're gonna go look at Pam Bondi's mess ups. Let's go look at Pam Bondi. We're just gonna get into the highlights. Okay. And this was as of recently. Let me find a good one. Alright, we'll go with the Fox News on this one. Screw it. Let's see how this goes. It's good to diverse in other types of media. Let's see what she's got to say here. The highlights. I'm sure they're going to show highlights of her really getting grilled. Who knows? Let's see. Because Fox News tends to be like CNN with their favoritism. Okay.
So much. Donald Trump's approval rating implodes on his strongest issue. This is from Newsweek today. It says 40% of people approve of Trump's handling of immigration and border security, while 60% disapprove.
Without objection, admitted. Now I recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Liu.
Yeah, I was in a Twitter space, aka Soleiman's, that when this first came out, and this is what I agree when he was even saying, and well, one of the speakers in his space was even saying, and I agree with this as much as I don't like that guy, and he's a big-time commie-crat. is if you feel some type of way about ICE, the Trump administration, what have you, the smart thing to do, like I said, is post your whatever on social media since you care that much, or make some money. Don't be a lazy person and then get yourself in politics like that guy so you could grill your ops' political opponent like what Ted Lieu is doing. So there you go. There's your answer.
2 photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you 2 photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep. And there's already some stuff with that going on there in England, but it's most likely going to be light sentencing and catch and release and stripping his title or whatever the hell they have going on over there. I will say this, though. This is why we don't want a lot of these old folks and more people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 50s in office on either side of power. Well, the Democrats have been doing a little better at this one, but we need more younger folk in their 30s, younger blood, to be going for higher positions of politics, because they high likelihood were not tempted or had anything to do or was around at the time when Jeffrey Epstein was still around, because right there, freaking blackmail from the elites and whatnot. And that's why we have a lot of problems here because of that, and why a lot of these politicians and celebrities and whatnot, celebrities don't even get me started there, but these motherfuckers have been naughty, weirdo, goofy shitters and have been compromised. So that's why we need more younger blood. And for my party, even though we ain't as big, the independent party, we need more people in higher position instead of just like a congressman or something smaller. So we need more people to be countering both parties, because both parties has their issues, especially on the left side, but even the right side are starting to be more compromised by accepting foolish money and or doing the bidding of very bad people, of the elites, funding, or not funding, but, well, yeah, funding them and having them do the bidding of very stupid decisions and policies regarding not only things going on in the Middle East, but with wasteful spending as well. Let's keep it a stack there. We need some more differences there, because the red team is really highly compromised as well. At least the blue team isn't all about the war stuff like the neocons and idiots there, like Marco Rubio and whatnot. Because, yeah, or Pete Hegseth, oh yeah, he's a really shitty neocon that started a lot of this too. I digress, but we really need a lot more alternatives out there. Make sure they're not neocons or rhinos, and make sure... I would never really vote for somebody on the left, because most of the time, even though they seem chill, still very high likelihood they're going to mess with the First and Second Amendment, as well as raise taxes. And open borders, that's another big one. So, yeah. That alternative sucks, so we need our independents to rise up. Rise up, independents. Okay, I digress.
The law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change.
I was going to say one thing I agree with him with is right there. And she took her time when Donald Trump was first ordering her to do it. Who knows, maybe he had her pull back on it. But she was so stupid not knowing what to do at first. When she was asking for it, the FBI were doing excuses saying, oh, well, you know, this and that. We have to organize, you know, making excuses to delay stuff. Slower, you kind of, it makes you think who were they delaying it for and redacting some of the stuff. But a real person with some experience would say, no, don't give me that excuse. I'm going to give you a couple hours or one day, and I want all of the information of these files on my desk right now. And then she let them beat around the bush with her and waste her time and waited way longer to release them initially as soon as Trump wanted it to. I have no idea if he called ahead and say, oh, just pretend this and waste the time, or it was completely on the FBI's end who were in charge of that, trying to release the files onto her, because she holds the highest position in the FBI and the law there, the Attorney General, so she could get them as soon as she wants to, and they have to give it to her because she's in charge. She's the head of all of that. So they have to give it to her whether they like it or not. She's their boss. You can't say no to the boss or you get fired.
To hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer?
But remember that, chat. Other people have mentioned this, but remember that.
I want to move on to another question.
Answer your question about protecting.
You answered the question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss
That's
another
really
man,
good.
Donald Trump,
Dew.
who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's a video.
I wish they would show the video. What the hell's going on?
Picked a great meme, but
I already have this app. Why are you wasting my time with shit I already got?
Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock.
Stop
the clock.
The legislation. This is
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath.
He struck a nerve there. He struck a nerve, but he has bad team, bad policies for the most part, but I will say he got her there. I'll give him credit. I give credit where credit's due, even though his policies suck in California is just a hellhole now. It's not the golden place it used to be. I don't care what anybody says. gangs and all that run that area now. These guys are just figureheads, but at least he's doing a little bit of good grilling her dumb ass. I'll give him that much. I'll be fair and give him that much.
This is on videotape. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question, Ms.
He doesn't want to talk about the horrific crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his state.
She can't just add lip stuff. I did not ask a question.
Meeting will be in order. The gentleman has yielded back his time. I think recognizes the gentlelady from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would note that Mr. Nadler's question has not yet been answered, but I want to start by asking that out of respect for the American public and the Epstein survivors, some of whom, of course, are here today, that we can have a transparent conversation and get the public the answers they deserve. I want to briefly direct your...
You know, when it came to the Minnesota daycare and the fraud going on there, not many Democrats showed up when it came to Nick Shirley, but, you know, which was disappointing. Very big L there. But they were probably too embarrassed to confront all of that and be called out on all the evidence from that. But when it came to Pam Bondi, you know, they showed up full force, getting all of the members like, oh, I'm ready for this moment. You got to call that out too. But yeah, very disappointing. That's why both of these parties suck, except, you know, the ones on the left suck the worst. The ones on the left side really suck. But Republicans, like the neocons and the rhinos that are making that party look bad, and old boomers who should be in the nursing home already, like Mitch McConnell, they're not doing the party any favors. That party needs a big scrub, kick out all of the, well, unvote them, I mean, boot and unvote and boot them out of that party, the boomers and the neocons and the rhinos that are making that party get unpopular and burned to the ground again. And then once that's fixed, and the newer generation or people in their 30s and that, whatever you want to call it, come in and clear all that up and clean up that party big time, that party will be very strong, and a lot of good things come from that party. They just gotta really know what they're doing and fix up a fair amount of stuff. If they do that, then the party will be pretty good.
Attention to two documents.
My 2 cents.
We will put up on the screen. In the first, an individual emails Jeffrey Epstein asking whether a woman identified as M was pro or civilian, and Epstein responds that she was a civilian, Russian, and fun. In the second email, Epstein writes to Steve Tisch about a Ukrainian girl, noting that she was, quote, a little freaked out by the age difference and stating that he would try to convince her not to return to Ukraine. He then instructs Mr. Tisch to call him, adding,
damn, it got brighter out of nowhere, shit.
So I'd like to ask a straightforward question that really is either a yes or no answer. Do these emails constitute credible evidence, not proof, but credible evidence warning further investigation into whether Steve Tisch was involved in Epstein's criminal conduct? Do you think yes or no?
I'm not going to play a yes-no game with you, but I will answer the question to the best of my ability. As I said, we will look and investigate any case involving any victim. I'm not familiar, there were 3 million pages, of course, with that email, but of course, we will look into anything. The documents have been released, 3 million, the redacted versions, we left them open for all of you to come view. Have you, I believe you viewed them, if not, will you have some copies?
I'd like to.
But could I finish, please? I'm not being rude, please.
I only have 5 minutes.
No, yeah, and I only have 30 seconds based on your filibuster.
But you didn't give a yes or no answer, so let me just go further. Director Patel testified in this committee room that there was no credible information indicating that Epstein trafficked victims to anyone else. And glancing at the documents, that proves that's not the case. In July, your department issued a memo stating that it had conducted an exhaustive review of the Epstein files and concluded that no additional individuals would be charged. So I did go over to the Department of Justice yesterday. I would note that 400 and all our 35 members are in the House, and there's 4 computers. So it would take many months to actually have the time. I only had a few hours. I think the transparency argument is really kind of a sham because it's not really.
Whoa! Did you have to wait to get?
It is not possible to really go in. I did, however, see a U.S. attorney information for the Southern District of New York indicating that there were additional survivors and probable co-conspirators. Other members of Congress have uncovered likely co-conspirators whose names were blocked out. Now, the Epstein File Transparency Act, which all but one member of this House voted for and the president signed, requires the department to release everything except that it needs to be redacted to protect the victims or an ongoing prosecution, which apparently there is none from the testimony we have received. I am concerned that this act has not been fully complied with. When Director Patel came to the committee, he admitted that up to 1,000 FBI agents had gone through the files and redacted President Trump's name from them. And it's pretty clear that what has been transmitted from the FBI continues to redact President Trump's name, even though he is mentioned thousands of times in these files. So I think the credibility of the department in terms of complying with the act has been damaged. And I think the department's credibility has been damaged in other ways. I think we all saw the horrible video of American citizens being killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis. And I think how the department has handled these cases raises a lot of doubt about the department. State and local police in Minnesota got a court order to get access to the crime scene to be sure evidence would be properly preserved by federal agents. But they took
She's really going off on a tangent right here, but doing it in the most calming way like a librarian.
Agents defied the court order, and in a departure from general policy, the DOJ is not collaborating with state and local law enforcement on these homicides. So I really think that is a disgraceful approach to the homicides of American citizens, and really does nothing to bring credit to your department. And Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
May I answer?
Attorney General can respond.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain...
Well, that's debatable right now. He was having that title going really good for him, but as of the recent events, that's starting to really downgrade his progress and leadership skills and whatnot of this country. He was cooking back then, not as good as he was at the beginning of his new term, but then it started kind of like the stock market was skyrocketing up, but with the recent events now it's skyrocketing down. But he was cooking back in 2016.
Their composure. This isn't a circus. This is a hearing. I find it interesting she keeps going after Donald Trump. She doesn't say how much money she took from Reid Hoffman, did you?
None.
And nor did
Mr.
she
Chairman,
post
regular
anything.
order, please.
She
Regular
posted
order.
nothing on her X account, on her Twitter account during the Biden years.
Gentlelady.
Yet now all of a sudden,
That's true.
she's going after
Committee will be in
order.
There was no
Committee will be
question
in
on
order.
the Attorney General. She doesn't just get to...
Committee will be in order.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Committee will be in order.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady can state her point of order.
When a witness attacks...
It's not a valid point of order. You got to state...
She hasn't completed her point of order yet. Please let her speak, Mr. Chairman. Let's have some regular order here.
Regular order is you got to state the rule. And
I am trying to make a point of order that the witness,
And what rule are you referring to?
without responding to a question, has attacked me personally. I think it's pathetic that she can't answer the questions and instead is attacking.
But it's also pathetic in with Biden's administration. You did none, like she said. So I got to give her, even though Pam's dum-dum, I got to give her some credit there, calling her out. But yeah, she's just like a librarian as a representative, useless, but valid questioning for questions of Pam Bondi regarding this Epstein fiasco.
From California.
Great, thank you. Madam Attorney General, you acknowledged earlier to Mr. Johnson that President Trump was mentioned and the release countless times, you said, in the Epstein files. I just want to play a video, though, for you that I think speaks to the frustration that many of these victims have. Of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at
we have
least be 1,000
released
times?
every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Claiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number.
I understand why the victims are frustrated, and the Attorney General acknowledged what Mr. Patel would not acknowledge, that it was way more than 1,000 times. But I want to move, Madam Attorney General, to weaponization of government. And yesterday it was reported that 6 members of Congress had indictments sought against him, and they were not returned by a grand jury. My colleagues have spoken about their frustration of being in subpoenas and having cell phone records combed through. Well, in 2017 and 2018, Adam Schiff and I had our cell phone records and email records combed through, not by you, but a different Department of Justice under the president. It was in retaliation for our role in the Russia interference campaign. An Inspector General report would find this improper and that the predicate for it was absurd. In 2020, after sitting on 2 committees that were a part of the president's first impeachment, an FBI agent leaked my cooperation in a national security case where my campaign was targeted. The president's FBI senior leadership authorized 2 statements to the press that said I was never suspected of wrongdoing and only helped the investigation. But that didn't stop the death threats or my GOP colleagues from referring me to an ethics investigation where Kevin McCarthy's chairman on the ethics committee would find the same thing as the FBI. Our current FBI director would then write a book called Government Gangsters and identify a long list of enemies. About a quarter of them have been either investigated or indicted. He listed me at the very top along with Adam Schiff, and during that same testimony refused to recuse himself when asked if he would recuse if any case came across his desk involving me or people on that list. Since that testimony, his department has put me under investigation with Senator Schiff for the nonsense mortgage fraud cases that we've seen. I get it. This is what the president does. I've priced it in. We have a bingo card at home that my kids have made of what will come next. I expected that the president would come after his enemies. But what I want to talk to you next is serious, and I did not expect this would happen, and I'd like your help on it. The president has inspired death threats against me and many sitting up here with me. In June 2025, an individual left 11 voicemails at my district office. On the voicemails, they said, "Get the message to him. I'm gonna hunt him down, that motherfucker, and toss his ass over the Golden Gate Bridge by my fucking self."
As unhinged as that is, and really stupid to call a fucking politician and tell him that when they could trace your number and send the guys in the suits at your door, which you don't want that because even if you don't get charged and get more of your rights taken away that way by catching yourself a felony or misdemeanor at best, it's going to put you on a watch list, and you don't want to be on a watch list, because not only is that going to really complicate your life, but it's going to definitely, it's not good being on a federal watch list. It's going to make it hard for you to travel, and it's also going to make it hard for you to do a lot of everyday things. I guess since it's California, it's not like much difference, but still very hard to buy guns and very hard to go to airports. I know it's a no flight list, but a watch list still rings alarm bells. And when you post stuff out of irritation and anger, even if it comes off a little terroristical threats or possible threats of violence out of anger, even though you shouldn't be dumb and post all that stuff on social media, it's definitely not going to get well received. And that's just going to add to them, and that might make them at least slap a charge on you. So that was the L there, but wow. But to be fair, he may have had a lot of that. If anything, you shouldn't threaten his life, but it had to be a fair amount of frustrated people. You may have done something very freaking stupid and bad for somebody to call you up and say that to your department. You must have done something really stupid that affected some people, though. So to be fair, but just say, oh, I'm not going to vote for him, or I'm going to post on social media or something like that, or find ways to rectify, like, oh, I'm not going to vote for you again if you do this. That's how you do it. Don't post up threats, because mostly that's of you talking out of stupidity and anger. Realistically, you're not going to do shit. But either way,
Donald Trump's Department
that's
of
not
Justice
smart.
in the Northern District of California declined to prosecute. On May 14, 2025, on Twitter, responding to something I posted, an individual said, "No, it wasn't Eric, and now I'm going to kill you." The Department of Justice from the Southern District of Texas declined to prosecute. May through December of 2025, we received messages at my office that said, "I hope somebody shoots you and your children and your wife in the head. Pew, pew, motherfucker, pew, pew." I would stay indoors as much as possible, and my children, unfortunately, have to do that. The Department of Justice has not charged this individual and cited that he's a prolific caller and has health conditions, although what we have found in our own investigation and his voicemails is that he has said he will employ others to do this. The president can come after me. It's fine. I'm in the arena. So are these folks. But we never expected that the Department of Justice would not seek to prosecute and investigate those who are making threats against us. And that would include those on that side of the aisle. And I'm just asking for your help to protect life, because life is at risk with the environment we're in right now.
Congressman, I completely agree with you. I know about several of those personally involving you. I believe one has been charged publicly, and there's something I would be happy to talk to you about off camera, but I can assure you that they are very serious. They are being looked into, and I can give you more details on those. None of you should be threatened, ever. None of your children should be threatened. None of your families should be threatened. And I will work with, you can come into my office any day. I will work with all of you on both sides of the aisle if you are ever threatened. And I'll gladly talk to you after this hearing about your cases, but I can tell you some of them are very active.
Yeah, be careful there. I don't care if you got anger issues or so. Be very careful, because Pam Bondi's gonna definitely come after you for attacking her new buddy there. This guy, don't do it. Don't do it. Either way, though, yeah. The people on the Democrat side are just as guilty, if not more, of harassing people, especially not only ICE, but police officers, family, and that too. So I would say, yes, I will work with you, but to be fair to you guys too, you question me and, gang up on me for this, but when it comes to your followers and your political voters and whatnot, when the same thing happens to a police officer, ICE agent, or member of Congress or government there, you guys don't seem to say too much about that now, do ya?
Gentleman yields
Not
back,
for
and we're sorry
nothing.
for what the gentleman and his family have had to go through. We appreciate what the Attorney General said. And I think some of the things that... Are you up next? Gentleman from New York is recognized.
But yeah, definitely don't do that regardless. That's stupid. And yeah, blame the guy, not his family. His family didn't do shit. It's him.
Mr. Chairman, I want to begin by acknowledging the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific abuse who are in the room with us today. I want to thank all of you for your bravery in speaking out. And I want to say that you and the other survivors of these heinous crimes deserve better from this Department of Justice. In particular, it is shocking that the department did not redact the names of Epstein's victims, but it did redact the names of their abusers. I don't know whether this was done out of incompetence or whether it was deliberate and malicious, but either way, it is completely unacceptable. Even more troubling, the DOJ has failed to bring any of these perpetrators to justice. Instead, it has engaged in a relentless pursuit of Donald Trump's perceived enemies. I want to focus on just one example. The Attorney General of my home state of New York, Tish James. This DOJ has been hell-bent on securing an indictment against Ms. James for something, anything, simply because she held Donald Trump's companies accountable for years of financial fraud. And indeed, the department manufactured an investigation against her for alleged, quote, mortgage fraud. But the U.S. attorney leading the investigation, Eric Siebert, a Trump appointee, refused to bring charges against Ms. James because there was simply no evidence. Unfortunately, a prosecutor who refuses to do Trump's bidding has no place in this DOJ, so Mr. Siebert was forced out. Trump could not contain his fury that he expressed to you in a social media post addressed to you by name. I'm sure you've seen it. Quote, I fired him and there is a great case, he wrote to you about Mr. Siebert. Then we moved down. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. And obviously, you followed that order. Lindsay Halligan, Trump's former defense lawyer who had never prosecuted a case in her life, was installed to replace Mr. Siebert, and it was clear that part of her mandate was to go after Ms. James. Halligan immediately sought an indictment, which a court dismissed because Halligan was illegally put into the role. But your department was undeterred, and not once, but twice, it tried to indict Attorney General James in separate courts. Both grand juries rejected you and refused to indict her. It is practically unheard of for a grand jury to refuse an indictment. In 2016, it happened in just 6 cases out of over 150,000 offenses. And you had it happen twice in the same week, in 2 different courts. That must have been humiliating. And now there are reports you are continuing to investigate her. The amount of resources that have gone into targeting Attorney General James, months of investigations, multiple failed indictments, is astounding. Since your own prosecutors told you that there is not enough evidence to support a conviction, it's clear that you are going after her simply because she held President Trump accountable and he wants to punish her. And she is just one name on a long list of Trump political enemies that DOJ is reportedly targeting. From Jerome Powell and Lisa Cook at the Federal Reserve to James Comey, numerous Democratic members of Congress, John Brennan, Jack Smith, Democratic officials in Minnesota, Chris Krebs, Miles Taylors, and more. And those are just the ones we know about. In contrast to these politically motivated investigations, grasping at something they can charge their enemies with, we now have concrete evidence of disgusting criminality revealed in the Epstein files. So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even?
That's a good question.
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to me.
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
My time.
I think it's very interesting.
You can reclaim your time.
He talks about they indicted. The president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and stop stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from New York. We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you ask a question, the witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman.
My time.
Because it's honest.
Reclaiming
So he asked a 4-minute question.
Restore 45 seconds, Mr. Nadler, please, Mr.
ask.
Chairman. You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on
Filibuster.
our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because...
Yeah, see right here, she had bad defense there. I gotta admit, Kristi Noem's one when she was getting grilled probably wasn't as bad as this, but Pam Bondi made herself look worse in her defense, way too defensive and not counters, and that Kristi Noem handled it way more professionally. Pam Bondi, as she goes to show you, not only is not the best in politics, but she was doing her job. Shit, you gotta give it right there. I will say she pretty much gave the, I wouldn't say win of the argument perhaps, but more or less more stronger backing of sides on the commie-crat side, because oh my goodness, she really made their side look better in that argument and worse on hers when it came to the files and whatnot. Let's keep it a stack. It definitely doesn't look too good there. Stupid phone, hold on a second. You don't tell me anything, get defensive like a freaking Karen. You don't tell me this and that. How dare you talk to me that way? That was very jester.
What you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I said that already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler. Go.
All right.
My time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0. You have been the Attorney General for a whole year, and your DOJ fired the lead prosecutor of this case, sat on evidence this entire time, and claimed falsely last July that there were no more leads. It took an act of Congress for you to finally release part of the Epstein files, and when you did, you included personal information about the victims while protecting the names of abusers.
Time of the gentleman
None of
has
the perpetrators
expired.
have been brought to justice, but enormous resources
Time
dedicated
of the gentleman has expired, and
it's
obviously
clear that under your leadership, the Department
He's really
of
reading from a script, it seems, right there.
Donald Trump. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
May I answer?
I think our next questioner, Madam Attorney General, is going to give you time to respond to.
Thank you, Chairman.
All kinds of things. So we will turn to the gentleman from Texas for 5 minutes.
Ms. Bondi, you go right ahead. I'm over here. The time is yours.
Thank you. First, he brought up the president saying they indicted me twice. They sure did. They tried to impeach him twice. And you, Mr. Nadler, were one of the leads on the impeachment. I was on the other side. I lived that with you. During impeachment, you said the president conspired, sought foreign interference in the 2016 election. Robert Mueller found no evidence, none, of foreign interference in 2016. Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized to
That's
President
a good point.
Trump?
No,
All
they
of you who
didn't.
participated in those impeachment hearings against Donald
To
Trump.
be fair.
You all should be apologizing. You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. You know, all they want to do, the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million, and Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them ask Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow
I wonder why.
$50,000 right now.
They got some insider trading stuff, and what's her name really knows a lot about insider trading and making a lot of money. She's one of the worst politicians on the Democrat side and messes a lot with the people's constitution and people's rights while making a fuck ton of money because of her mafia freaking father, uncle. What's the... I forget the name because she's like in and out of politics, it seems, but they still bring her around, and it looked very sus. It will come back to me. Let's just keep playing this.
The NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Nancy Pelosi, that's her name. Nancy Pelosi. I was just reminded of that. Thank you for reminding me of that. That dum-dum.
The time belongs to the gentleman from
that
Texas.
dingbat. Yeah, that dingbat.
Thank you. The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. National median rents have fallen to a 4-year low thanks to Donald Trump. That's why they want to focus on Epstein.
Let's fast forward a little bit of this. Okay, now when we get to the other part, because this is going to be a little shorter than expected. I'm going to have to end soon. I've been going on for 2 hours, but I'm going to bring up more relevant news as of right now, stuff behind the scenes before I end this off and post it up. Don't forget on the YouTube side, like and subscribe.
Continue to do to keep America safe and to make Americans safe.
Thank you.
Gentlelady from Washington is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney General Bondi, right here. We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown
this jester dingbat. She's gonna definitely make her side and make her argument look good here. This is one of the worst people on the Democrat side, one of the real bad commie-crats. This person, in my opinion, makes AOC look like a junior easy opponent to fight or vote against. Whoever voted for this person or whoever people voted for her, hope you get your vote's worth, because this person wants to raise your taxes and mess with your right to free speech and that, unless it's their thing, you little commie-crats. I digress, but this court jester dingbat is one of the worst. I think she's up there with like Kamala Harris when it comes to that. Oh, and Bernie Sanders. Those are the top 3 worst. I don't know which one's worse, her or Bernie Sanders, but they're up there, man.
Incredible courage.
It's like neck and neck.
In speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video."
I don't even want to freaking know. I saw a little thing about this. I don't even want to freaking know. That's sick.
Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files. Did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and
with more of those evidences with these files coming out was the recent files, it really makes you think. And it makes Trump really look bad, President Trump and the people around him. I wonder how much stuff do they got on him with blackmail with Epstein, the people that still have it in both government and outside of it, that have so much sway over him, it must have been really bad stuff. Because of recently, after the whole thing with taking out the leader in Iran, and we'll cover a bit of that as well, which impressive, they found him, they got him, even though it seemed like he wanted to go out that way. It still didn't do much compared to taking care of Maduro. Compared to Venezuela and Maduro, these guys are basically like farmers with pitchforks and that. But unlike when it comes to the Iranians, just their navy and or their fighter jets and whatnot, their air force or air superiority, whatever you call it, sucks. But they do have very good, when it comes to the ballistic missiles, air defense and whatnot, because it seems like they're really, with the asymmetric warfare, hitting a lot of people up really bad, especially in the Middle East when it comes to Kuwait, Israel, Saudi, a bit, and a couple like Lebanon and whatnot too. Yeah, Lebanon. I'm gonna cover a bit of that as well, but both Trump and PM Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu Bibi, I really don't like that guy, I'm gonna be honest, really underestimated Iran there and should have left well enough alone, in my and others' opinion. However, there you go. You have to round and found down there eventually. Both, especially Trump, with his help, is going to end up still winning, but at what cost? I think it's going to be more costly than what it's worth. Death by, not death, but too much damage by 1,000 paper cuts. I always think about death by 1,000 cuts, but this is going to be, especially in the pressure point areas, damage with a lot of severe cuts. And there's already a fair amount of people in the Middle East that have been allies and that worked with us, especially when it came to oil, starting to look at other people to look after them and do deals with, like Russia being one of them, and China. I'll get more into it there. We're going to get more into it.
Ties to Trump's advisors.
I'm just bringing this on because of what happened recently with Kristi, Noem, so we're kind of going a little bit back with some of the news, so it's already been covered by some, and it's a little bit like late to the party, yes, but I bring this up for good reason, comparing, because if Kristi Noem got fired, she should have got fired too and replaced by somebody way more competent and more skillful at their job, and it isn't a waste of attorney general, in my opinion. If they had to keep one person, I say they should have kept Kristi Noem, give her better understanding and, well, not understanding, but better training and or lessons on how to handle stuff, versus her. She should have got canned way before Kristi Noem, in my opinion.
Bannon. Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only...
People are going to figure out, especially when it comes to those emails, which of the persons or people they are who weren't already redacted. What difference does it make now? I mean, I guess that brings more class and more of an argument to their side, but at that point, when you're still showing the emails, you could go and say, if they're really big weirdos out there, they're going to say, oh, it's that person. I'm going to be weird and mess with them, even though you shouldn't. It's almost like people are going to put two and two together, so what difference does it make now?
Only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades. To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice.
I wish they would show the people in the back, but only certain of the news people have the coverage there. I guess this one doesn't.
Bundy, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize?
Okay, I'll be honest. This is a bit rich from her. I would say, okay, if you do it as well, you apologize to the people right there because you didn't do much to help them either. So I don't want to hear from your fucking jester court ass, you dingbat. I don't want to hear from you unless you're willing to do that as well.
Department of
You didn't do much to help. You just covered their name. That doesn't do much to help them right then and there, does it?
With the absolutely unacceptable
to be fair here
of the Epstein files and their information.
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi,
no, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General
you could tell,
accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't
even though I really don't like this politician in person in general, that's got to really sting Pam Bondi's ego, I will say.
The answer. So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked.
Didn't she ask Merrick Garland this?
I am reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's reclaimed her time.
I'm not going to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman, I'll direct it to
what a massive
I'm answering a question.
Mr. Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is interrupted.
I'm not going to get in the gutter with this woman. She's doing theatrics.
And let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final 17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only to then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Elaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now
she's still yapping. Versus Pam Bondi isn't getting much of a chance, I will say there. But yeah, they better give her a fair time, especially when she's still yapping. Because she's complaining about time, but she isn't getting much time reclaimed. Yeah, very jester.
The time of the gentlelady has expired.
That you would turn around to the survivors who are still...
Like I said to the people who voted for her, very freaking stupid. Very jester politician.
Standing right behind you, and on a human level,
Chairman,
Chair now recognizes the chair.
What you have done.
The time of the gentlelady expired. The gentlelady, you have no time to yield back. We appreciate the thought. Kentucky is recognized.
May I respond very briefly to her statement?
I think we can do that probably on one of our members' time.
Okay, thank you. I don't want that to get away. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact. Or, sorry, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victim's survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators.
It's amazing how he was able to stay around and still do a lot of this shit. From then, money does a lot to protect you, man. Freaking horrible. That motherfucker better be really dead and this wasn't some fake cover-up Black Ops stuff. That Jeffrey Epstein better have got himself killed in jail. Well, deleted himself in jail, and that better be the case, because if he's still around, a lot of people aren't gonna be happy. There's a lot of conspiracies out there. I'm just gonna safely assume he's dead, but whoever made him let loose in that, maybe this is a little bit nowadays with the current events. Karma is really hitting people bad, really hard. I'll tell him that. I'll tell you that much. Karma's really hitting you the fuck up really bad if you had anything to do with all this. And the oops and the mess ups for fucking around and finding out. Poor peeps, man.
Fully redacted.
Poor chooms.
And, by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files. But he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need, that you're holding on to and over-redacting. Because
that's one thing, she better fully release them. That's why she needs to get fired, because, yeah, she's still holding on to some that isn't fully released, that she has power over. That's like a big L.
They have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from...
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So, yes. I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed? There was one redaction out
where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to be a failed politician.
I mean, she ain't wrong there, but she is given some lazy answers, though, too. But yeah, Trump
None.
derangement
If there were, I
syndrome
would
is
bring
big
the
with
case
them on the
yesterday.
left side. But also, too, Trump administration fuck up or mess up syndrome on his or the L's that he's been taking as of recently exists, too. So if you're going to criticize Trump, have good criticisms and or real active ones that actually have fact, logic, and evidence behind it, like what's going on right now, plus a lot of the stupid stuff he said just to say out loud because of his ego, like when it came to giving people free money, or that he's gonna do this and that. But some he may have accomplished versus some he didn't fully accomplish, not completely in his control, of course. But also this whole thing with the Middle East and a lot of the moves now pushing for a full war, boots on the ground, which is a bad idea, because we're going to cover that as well, where the Pete Hex said they're the military and the government was trying to get in touch with the Kurds to try to do a boots on the ground force. Then they told him, hell no, even we're not crazy or stupid enough to do that, because it would be a bloodbath. And that's evidence that shows you even the Kurdish people don't even want to get involved with that.
Trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
But that's just the tip of the iceberg of stuff Trump has did that's
of course,
jester and bad moves.
1-800-CALL FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't.
bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question the way
This
you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at
Merrick-
what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people.
Yeah, that's
voted.
right, he did. That's a big Big Allen mess up for him. Freaking weirdo. Don't act. He acts all high and mighty. He's a big freaking weirdo too.
Against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
The gentleman's time has expired.
That struck a nerve, but she did a good counter there.
Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering.
The gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any member's question.
Yeah, go cry about it, weirdo.
I have unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized for a UC.
All right. This is an example. I'm submitting these 302 forms that are entirely redacted, even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and identifiable pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from A.G. Bondi to Kash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files.
Yeah, I will say I don't like this guy. He's a weirdo dingbat, but the redactions are definitely very questionable, and it makes you think who amongst them is still walking the streets free, who have a lot more to do with Epstein and the files. That's really questionable, to say the least. A lot of people obviously know a couple besides Lex Wessner and whatnot, but more to the story besides that.
Because they're still redacting files.
Chairman, are we going to recess for votes?
Yes, we are.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17 individuals who've resigned because of the Epstein files.
Without objection.
Need to create more video.
No, we don't. Fuck off.
What time? How much time we have left in votes? But one thing I've learned here of late that they'll wait on us. How much time do we have? Oh, they just.
All right, let's get this last one here, and then we'll cut to the chase.
About that, and in these times, that's a very serious matter. So I thank you for that. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7 of the Constitution is the Domestic Emoluments Clause. And it says that the president is limited to his salary in office and cannot receive any other money from the federal government while he's in office. It cannot be increased by $1. This president is the first president in U.S. history who has repeatedly sued the federal government for $230 million for the judicial search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, which was perfectly lawful and was never struck down. But now he's suing the IRS for $10 billion. He's suing the IRS for $10 billion, which I think is around 80% of its annual budget, because his tax returns were leaked. And they were illegally leaked by a private contractor who actually is in prison now, Charles Littlejohn. But he wants $10 billion. Now, well, I want to ask you the question of whether you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for you to settle that $10 billion case or any of the other claims that the president has made against the government. He himself has remarked, it's interesting because...
That's a lot of money if he ends up getting it, which will be very hard. But even if he gets half of that, what's he going to do with that $5 billion? Just keep it in his account or try to spread the wealth, even $1 billion to the economy, the treasury or so? That's the real question. Makes you think if he ever did win that one.
I'm the one that makes the deal, right? And he says, I kind of have to work it out with myself. Do you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for the president to work out a deal from people who are his subordinates under his unitary executive theory to get money in one of these cases?
I'm not going to discuss pending litigation.
Okay, so theoretically you're saying because his privacy rights were violated in that tax case, and they were. I'm with the president on that. I mean, his Mar-a-Lago thing is ridiculous, but there's no doubt that his tax returns, despite the fact that he promised to release them, despite the fact that every other president released the tax returns, he suffered embarrassment when it showed that he hadn't paid taxes for several years, and he had a right for that not to happen. Now, I want to turn back to the Epstein survivors, because President Trump may have been a little bit embarrassed by the release.
There we go. Just like not only the most people in politics, other rich people and Democrats, if you want them to pay a decent fair share of taxes, make it a thing. They just don't enforce it because they make the money too. So you best believe he didn't share his taxes either. This little court jester here, you could tell he probably, I can't say for sure, but he definitely kept a lot of stuff secret behind the scenes, even if he did release some of his tax stuff or if he made it public. Wouldn't be surprised if it was or wasn't, and if there was some stuff that weren't calculated into the taxes. These people are really good at hiding a lot of their taxes.
Of those
politicians in general, but
how much do you think the claims of
when you know, you know,
are worth? As the good congressman from Kentucky just pointed out, there were lots of survivors who had decided, for reasons of their own, never to release their names. That determination was represented to people in Congress, and we built it into our federal law that their names could not be released, and yet you published their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, personally identifying information.
That's a big freaking L if that's the case. And then Trump has the goal to fire Kristi Noem over Pam Bondi at least first. Like, come on, buddy. Dude. Are you joking right now? Are you dumb, stupid, or dumb, huh? What kind of move is that? I will admit that was a big L on Trump there. This is why he's making not only the party look bad, but it's going to look really tough for the Republicans in the midterm.
If Donald Trump can
this is just one of the examples
from the Department of Justice, how much should these people get for a far worse violation of their privacy rights and a far greater danger established to them in their lives.
Not sure if you saw that.
All right. I don't care. Cool. We already got that. Now with that taken care of, I'm going to react to this one other bits of thing, because bits of info I promised right now. Hold on, I gotta text somebody something. Okay. Let me get to this in just a minute. Okay. We'll react to this because this is just breaking in as well, and we'll react to some of the stuff that happened really recently with like the ballistic missiles in Iran and whatnot, because both sides F around and found out and drew first blood, even though we're going to go with the, I'm not, but people who really do the research and don't just think up the top of their head and absorb and take the information that's given, was for the nuclear missiles. Yeah. We said the same thing about Iraq and Afghanistan in the Bush and a little bit after the Bush era, but we should have known from there a bunch of bullshit in the Middle East that isn't completely true, and amongst other things, but I digress. Let's take the info what we got now. It says, post on X, our purported quote from Trump posing to bring in Iranian refugees who assisted the U.S. military. That's going to cost a lot in tax money and whatnot. And that's going to be a lot of free stuff for them, and probably not going to help them get jobs right then and there, jobs that people aren't taking, or certain skill sets that are going to cost a lot of money with the tax and economy, and they're not necessarily going to help them get jobs right there that would pay for that, because for the most part, I'm very pro, border, very pro anti-immigration, but of course we want to bring in immigrants that bring value to the country and bring value into the economy and whatnot, and doesn't create a whole big debacle and fiasco of the border like the Biden administration. So we must have controlled border and controlled immigration. Controlled border and immigration. It's only fair. Other countries do it, so we should be able to do it too. I don't want to hear none of those excuses, because you ain't convincing me. Oh, I've been in his spaces a lot. I really fucks with Suleiman Ahmed. Definitely shout out to him if you want to get more breakdowns of what's going on with current news, especially with the Iran war and all the fiasco going on with the American-Iran war. Definitely check out his Twitter spaces. I might pop in there afterwards too, but yeah, I digress. This claim, sparked controversy, criticism, and accusation of betraying immigration promises. Yeah, Trump was supposed to be very pro-immigration control, and lo and behold, these guys, as long as these guys bring value, then it is what it is. They bring value, they do it the right way, and this doesn't cost or really bump up the economy and cost of the economy for the regular people, including people who can take the hit or not. This better really bring value long term. Otherwise, this is going to be very bad move for Trump. Some users disputed the quote stating Trump did not say those words in reference video and calling for community notes. Okay, we shall see. Some of the people reacted right there. More refugees selling out our birthrights to, yeah, for Israel. Okay, buddy. Some of the people are really mad about Bibi being the war criminal, and, you know, he is a war criminal, but pulling us into the thing. It was Trump's last call. He didn't have to do it, but inevitably, since they're our ally, we were going to be brought into it anyways, because they already said whoever attacks us first, we're going to do that asymmetric warfare, and it's going to be very bad on you guys. So whoever, I don't care who does it first, we're going to make sure you both feel the pain either way. So I guess it is what it is. But now this is going to be very bad on our economy and our dollar, because these countries, seeing that we're more trouble than what our worth, and a lot of the assets in the foreign soil in the Middle East, like Kuwait and Qatar, especially with the oil, those leaders are definitely looking for alternatives that make both a happy medium and that will guarantee better protection than what America was offering, especially since they probably want ballistic missiles too to defend against other countries that have them. I'm starting to think the reason for these wars is so we could bring in their refugees. I agree. It seems like it. I mean, there's definitely more that meets the eye, but it seems okay. Let's see the full thing, because I don't even know the full post. I know this is a clip, but let's see.
And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military, and the police to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity, and we'll be giving you really the right side of history, because that's what it is. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death, and I don't want to see that. They don't want to see it either. We also urge Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum and to help us shape a new and better.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not even going to get into the Venezuelan thing, because it's the Middle East is a whole different animal, but I will say this. He must be getting kind of desperate for him to release that and give that comment. You could tell, because he's getting pressure from a lot of countries. I'll show you some of the stuff that's been going on as of recently with the ballistic missile strikes from Qatar, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, and of course Israel, because he's probably getting a lot of pressure there, because it's been causing a lot of chaos with their ballistic missiles, which is crazy. Also, too, I'm not claiming to be an expert like a lot of these guys are. I know a thing or two, but I know for a fact, just like the Middle East, they're not going to give up and surrender. It's in their religion. It's indoctrinated in a, I guess, a bad, but also somewhat of a, how should I say this? Like, we already know that Muslim terrorists can be very hardcore, fanatical. They want to die with honor like a warrior. They want to die in a blaze of glory, and they're not afraid of death, which some part of that can be admirable, just like the Crusader warriors, even though the Crusades were very problematic for my pagan people back in the day. So they had to match that type of energy, even though a fair amount of them lost and some of them won and retained control. When it came to the pagans like the Celts, the Slavics, my people, at least on my mom's side, and of course the Vikings and whatnot as well. I digress, but the Shiite Muslims, especially the Shiite terrorists, not saying all of them are, just to make sure, don't get me for that. I do admire the Shias, but when they get to that level of fanatical, just like really fanatical Christians who crash out and go nuts or get aggressive and whatnot, is not to the same level as the Shiite terrorists, Muslim terrorists. I mean, those motherfuckers are down to fight and die to their last breath. kind of similar, even though it's a different animal too, but similar to the Ukrainians. They want to fight to the death before they give up anything, so you could admire and respect that. It's like not something to want to aspire to be, even though it's good to stay strong, 10 toes down, and believe what you believe in non-violently, of course, and not fear death, even though, let's be honest, about everybody who's not die hard like those people are still going to have a big fear of death. However, I'll just say this part. Some things in a positive way, mind you. Some things you could even learn from the enemy. That's all I gotta say. And this is coming from a pagan. This is like a big thing. Okay, now let me do this last thing before we go. See what's going on now, why he says all that. But these aren't like the Venezuelans, and Trump should know better. These guys are not gonna freaking give up just like that. Nope. Nope. Okay, this is recently 2 hours ago. 2 images show aftermath of Iran attack against a missile Patriot system in the UAE. Oh yeah, UAE's been getting really messed up. The United Arab Emirates, Dubai. America gave them these Patriot missile systems, and look what happened. The fuck? Oh, Al Jazeera's been reporting on that as well. I've been paying a lot of attention to Israeli news and Al Jazeera and other news, independent news media, so it's been covering this, but a lot on Twitter as well, with Suleiman's Twitter sites. No injuries, officials say. Oh, this is in Tel Aviv. We're including Tel Aviv. Wow. I guess their Iron Dome hasn't been countering a lot. They were countering a lot of the like the first missiles, like their cannon fodder, like the duds, even though they're first ballistic missiles, which ain't bad, but they've been sending out the 2.0 ones, the faster ballistic missiles, and those have been hitting more into Israel and, of course, UAE and whatnot, which is very concerning and crazy. Hopefully the civilians didn't want all this to begin with, got away unscathed, and are hiding out until this whole fiasco ends, because this is crazy. Oh, this was in Lebanon. Oh. Lebanon. It's amazing how so much ballistic missiles, even though they're not... Some of them have been clustered as well, but these aren't like... You wouldn't expect these ballistic missiles to do so much damage to the areas and whatnot, but... I guess you could be very surprised. It looks like a bunch of big bombs got dropped onto here. What the hell? It's looking like a volcano eruption in Hawaii. Like that whole volcano thing that happened in Hawaii. Very concerning. Okay, let's see what else. Oh, this is one that recently hit Tel Aviv again. Tel Aviv has been really getting hit, which you could obviously understand and see why, but this asymmetric warfare thing they got, because they know they're not going to win long term, this is like a big final FU. It's like, yeah, we're going to make sure you messed with us, you're going to feel the pain for messing with us. And we're feeling it already, gas prices and whatnot. It looks like a shooting star in the sky. I know if that was sitting close to me, I wouldn't be outside filming, I'll tell you that much. Is that the airport? I don't know where that hit, but that doesn't look good. I'm gonna react to a couple more. Let's see here. Ooh, this is big. Where's this at, Qatar? Okay. Oh, wait, no, this is in Tel Aviv as well. Holy shit. And this looks like a really nice area. Damn, that's going to cost a lot of money. You're just hoping a lot of people didn't get hit in the crossfire and it just hit a lot of buildings. Because that stuff, as long as you got the money, is easily replaceable. But after that, not so much. What's this one? Heavy bombardment in Tehran. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, let's see. One more. This is like their get back. It's like, you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. I just hope it's worth it long term, man. Hopefully a lot of civilians too don't get impacted by this, because this is gonna be very expensive once it's all over and their houses and stuff they paid for are destroyed. They're gonna have to start from scratch. This is in Tehran, by the way. Damn. What the hell? You could tell the other one freaking out, getting more excited versus this guy. It seems like it's a normal day at the office. I will say to Trump and the people that Pete Hegseth, as Trump and Pete Hegseth especially, as well as Bibi Netanyahu, that warmonger as well. Hope this is all worth it, because it's costing a lot of lives over a lot of BS that we know behind the scenes what's going on, and it's costing a lot of civilians that not only voted for you but also supported you and whatnot. Hopefully you got some stuff to answer back to. Not only is us Americans losing precious resources and deals with these countries as well as soldiers, but you guys are losing a lot too, especially in your home territory. And civilians are going to be big time affected by this, so I hope it was worth it. They definitely need to elect a better leader, as well as we need to elect a bit better leadership through the midterms and the next presidency as well, because I'm just going to say it right now, I am not too sure about J.D. Vance. He is more or less red flags to me. I don't think he's got what it's capable of. They're doing a bad job of not letting him shine more, not showing him off and saying, oh, he's doing this, and just been behind the scenes. I don't know, but it's not looking too good for J.D. Vance. Unless he does a complete 180. His election term, because he's going to be Trump's, other Republicans might fight back on that, but he's going to be Trump's prodigy to his candidacy. Even though I would prefer, I don't know too much about that. I know he's not perfect as well, even though he did a really good job in Florida. I think if they pick anybody, J.D. Vance would be my pick versus not J.D. Vance, Ron DeSantis, fucking tongue. Ron DeSantis would be more my pick than J.D. Vance. Even though I heard some things not too positive about him too, even though he is running governor and still running good as governor in Florida and made a lot of good moves, especially when it became to the disasters that was going on with the hurricanes and the storms, as well as my favorite, the Second Amendment, the guns. We love our guns over here, as you know, but he has been handling that way better than J.D. Vance is handling stuff. He's the vice president, yes, but Trump's really not doing much favors for him right now. And if it has to be between J.D. Vance or Newsom or J.D. Vance, like right now, or AOC or Kamala again, even though that's not going to... Kamala might as well not even bother, even though she wants to go for round 2 again. I'm definitely not. I would rather vote J.D. over Kamala or AOC. Or if it's J.D. Vance or Newsom, I'm not even going to bother voting at that point. If it's between J.D. Vance and Newsom, I'd rather just whoever, let the majority vote, whatever the majority decides, whatever it is, what it is. But I'm not going to bother voting. I will never vote for a commie-crat in my life, let alone him. He's one of the worst ever, too. Okay, I'm going to call it right there. You all have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Take care, everybody. Hopefully we get to peace, love, unity, and business. And this whole fiasco of the other side, because I have friends in these areas too, online especially. Stay strong, take care, invest, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace, nomads.